Ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua humiliated President William Ruto and his team in Ol Kalou.
Thank you very much. With my colleagues who are here and others who are not here, governors, senators, members of parliament, and members of county assemblies from this region, we are going to make a major political decision, and we say God bless Kenya, God bless Nyandarua, and God bless all of us. Thank you very much.
And the question is, what next for William Ruto and UDA after those humiliating results?
UDA invested heavily because the president acknowledges Mount Kenya. West and East supported him immensely in his bid for presidency. UDA invested heavily because I think that's what governments do in election cycles. The UDA has not only invested with that respect to the political investment demonstrated.
Because I've seen what Kindiki has been writing. And Kindiki has suggested that they are going to go back to the drawing board. And the question is, what next? That's exactly what I want to reveal to you guys in this video. Before I do it, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, take a second or two, click the subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing which President Ruto and his brigades must do is to reevaluate the Mount Kenya strategy. If you look at those results, the DCP candidate got 35,000 votes. The UDA candidate got 5,000 votes. I mean, those numbers are very bad for President Ruto. Because this is a region which voted for President Ruto almost to the last man in the last election. But now, they are not even, in my view, right now, they are not even 20%. I think the figure is 13% of the votes. But if you go and dig deeper, you'll realize one thing. That even those numbers themselves, were it not for the resources spent, probably the candidate would have even received 2,000 votes. So which means there is a disconnect between UDA leaders in the mountain and the voters in Mount Kenya. There's a serious disconnect, which means William Ruto must go back to the drawing board. He must reevaluate his strategy. He used resources. It's now clear that the people of the mountain can actually eat your money and you can do nothing about it. William Ruto used state machinery, which means now the people of the mountain don't fear any state machinery. In fact, I remember Matthew warning the president that I respect you, but I don't fear you. The deep state did everything. So it's clear that their communication strategy did not convince the people. So he must reevaluate. Because if it won't make sense for him in the mountain, he must figure out how. Because the biggest challenge William Ruto is facing is that in the last election, 47% of his votes came from the mountain. Let's assume that based on what he got in Ol Kalou, is what he's going to get in the presidential election. In fact, they're going to go down a bit because the Ol Kalou is going to give DCP the momentum. And of course, you know, I'm sure during the general election, he won't be able to use the resources he used there. So let's give Ruto 8% in the mountain. If in the last election, the mountain formed the bulk of his votes, right now it's going to get even 10%. How will William Ruto manage to win the presidency? So which means he have to go back and reevaluate. And for me, if I were to advise him, just advise, focus on Mount Kenya East. So that if he lose West, let it not spread to East. He can use the likes of Kindiki, who comes from there, Cecil Mbarire, and even Ruko, who is very vocal about that. Number two, William Ruto must now agree and accept the fact that Mount Kenya is gone. That is something which is yet to accept. Mount Kenya is gone, and therefore he must look for new opportunities. And where are the new opportunities? the former ODM support base. What can he do? Oburu camp. First strategy. And because Oburu, Odinga and the group are already on his side, he just need to go there and convince the people, come up with a strategy. Because William Ruto is the president, he has intelligence. He knows what's happening. If the people in Oburu camp are also a bit, they were also fighting at some point, or don't really enjoy the support of the ODM support base because of this Sifuna camp, William Ruto can still go and negotiate with Sifuna and the group. It's possible. I know you are laughing, but nothing stops William Ruto from talking to Oburu and then using his strategies to persuade Sifuna group to work with him. If, for example, today William Ruto were to pick Sifuna, of course, Sifuna has made it clear that he can't work with Ruto, but in politics, it's about two things, interest and betrayal. He can. So if tomorrow William Ruto wakes up and Kenyans are shocked that he has nominated Edwin Sifuna as his running mate, that will neutralize Mount Kenya. Because without neutralizing Mount Kenya, I can assure you, there is no way he must just quote ODM and figure out how to neutralize Mount Kenya. Number 3, and this is something he must do urgently, William Ruto must reshuffle his cabinet. There's no need of William Ruto having all those cabinet ministers, all those permanent secretaries from the mountain, yet they can deliver.
On Ol Kalou and Nyandarua generally, in reciprocity, the president has assigned over 9-10 cabinet secretaries to the region. The bulk of the permanent secretaries from this region, in this government, are from the region called Mount Kenya. About 17 or 18 of the 51. The bulk of chairs of state corporations are from Mount Kenya. The bulk of CEOs in this government are from Mount Kenya. The president has a mandate and a responsibility to reciprocate those who showed him favor. But if by the time they get to 2027, they decide to move out of government, that will be unfortunate. The architecture of the government will then change fundamentally based on the broad-based partnership. That is the nature of politics.
How many ministers do we have from the mountain? We have the DP, Kindiki. We have Ruku. We have Alice Wahome. We have the young man from Nakuru who is the Minister for Water. We have, I think there are 7, are they 8? The PSS are so many. So if they can't deliver, the best strategy is replace them. Remove 2 or 3, give to other areas.
Mimi naomba rais alete hizo vitu hapa. Kama hao watu wameshiba, wamekula kuanzia uhuru 1963, kuna watu wako na njaa hapa. Tafadhali lete hizo mattresses hapa, ulete hapa hizo gas, ulete hapa hiyo boat. Kwanza kuna hapa ndio iko bahari. Pale nilikuwa tu pali ndogo ya watu kuvuka nayo maji. Kama hao watu wamekuwa na rais kuanzia uhuru, tangu Kenya ipate uhuru paka saa hii, sisi ndio hatujaona rais. Rais ya kwanza sasa tumeona ni William Samoei Ruto. Sasa tunaomba tafadhali, usiharibu mpesa, usiharibu mali ya wananchi, usiharibu chochote pale ambaye watu hawataki usaidizi. Sisi ndio tuko na haja ya usaidizi. Leta hizo vitu hapa na tutakupigia kura kwa fujo. Tunakuhakikishia.
Where you think they can appreciate. Because Mount Kenya has been in power. They've been president. So the residents might not be happy with these ministers. Remember, as we speak, how many ministers are coming from Luo Nyanza, or from Nyanza for that matter? Only 2. Compared to Mountain, how many? Several. But the people of the Luo nation, or the Luo nation, are appreciating because they've never been in power. So a cabinet reshuffle with the aim of fixing politics is what he needs. There is no need of having all those if they can't deliver. So if I were to advise Ruto on the side, I'll ask him to do that. In fact, getting a cabinet minister from, maybe another one for the lawyer, another one for the coast people, would be good for politics. And number 4, William Ruto must now figure out the best strategy to manage Rigathi Gachagua and DCP threat. I know for a very long time, William Ruto has always been advised by his team that they can easily deal with Rigathi. In fact, after Mbeere North, now they were sure that if he could stop these guys in Mbeere, what about here? Because remember, the by-election in Mbeere was actually engineered by Ruto himself. Ruto picked a member of parliament. After removing Kindiki, after removing Rigathi, he appointed Kindiki and removed a member of parliament to the cabinet and occasioned a by-election there because he wanted to face Rigathi. But now, things have changed. Rigathi has proved that that's not the truth. He's very powerful. So he must figure out how to manage the threat. So which means Ruto will have to go back and figure out what are some of the strengths of DCP. Why are they popular? How comes Rigathi can go to the ground and win without even stepping in? And lastly, the messaging. I think the mountain voted for Ruto because William Ruto was able to persuade them in the last election. What we witnessed in Ol Kalou was not persuasion. There were attempts to force the people to vote for UDA candidate. So which means the messaging, even if you're feeding these people, giving them money, why were you giving them money? Did you persuade them that, you see, I'm doing this out of goodwill? Or were they convinced that you are doing this because you feel you've failed them and therefore you want to buy them? Because remember, there's this story that you can buy a Kikuyu. You can rent, you can rent a Kikuyu, but you cannot buy a Kikuyu. So maybe he just rented them. So he must figure out the messaging which will convince people to be on his side. I don't know what you think. That's my take. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.